and what your
Yeah, I mean,
thoughts are.
realistically, what we're doing right now is the action we're taking is not breaking ground, so we're not disturbing anything. We're going for financing at the current state. That's what the current state of this project is. So we're not doing.
But I think this environmental action is for the project. So you would have to consider that in vision. So unlike what was stated a couple of weeks ago, we are doing an environmental determination for the project. And when the project occurs, the asphalt area will be disturbed to set footings.
But not 1,000 tons of.
But not 1,000 tons of material, and not into bedrock and not into groundwater table.
Hold on just a second, because I've got I'm not recording right now, is it?
I was given the host and I'm recording them.
Okay,
Allegedly, and I will confirm with someone who is on.
Ah.
Yeah, his screen is showing on there, not mine.
Matt, do we need to do the lead agency thing first?
I believe that the first thing that should happen is the board should make an action to or a resolution to become lead agent for this seeker process.
I'd like to make a motion to declare the Village of Scotia as lead agent for the seeker process.
I would second that motion.
Quick call the roll.
Trustee Zolchak,
Yes.
trustee Rizzo,
Yes.
trustee Cook,
Yes.
trustee Gray,
yes,
Mayor Gifford.
Yes.
So Attorney Scott and Attorney Marola, should we then also make a resolution to declare the project as an unlisted action and that we're going to follow an uncoordinated review process?
Yes. Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to declare the project a undeclared action,
No,
Unlisted.
unlisted action, and as an uncoordinated review.
Second that motion.
Yes.
I second that.
Sorry. Call the roll.
Trustee
Yes.
Cook, trustee Rizzo.
Yes.
Trustee Cook,
Yes.
trustee Gray,
yes,
Mayor Gifford.
Yes.
Okay, now I think the board can talk and discuss that item 1, impact on land.
I think we were talking about. As he clarified, not 1,000 tons, nothing that's not undisturbed before, no significant features. It's in my opinion,
I would agree with that.
minimal to low impact.
It's a parking lot currently,
The parking
and
lot,
an existing
formerly a
structure.
dry cleaners having been cleaned up in between.
How about the police area across the street? That's undisturbed. That hasn't been touched.
That's not related to this project at all. It's not part of this. This is, we're spending money, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be responding. Go ahead.
So the project that we are talking about is the fire station project and the rehabilitation restoration of this existing building only. That parking lot, although some graphics show that is not a part of this seeker action, that is a separate project than this municipal project that is dealing with land swap, really, right, Mr. Mayor,
That's correct.
between parties, and to replicate parking spaces that are going to be lost in this potential deal with the other landowner.
Thank you for clarifying.
Thanks.
So we're on to number 2.
So is it like an agreement that there's no significant impact on the land?
Yes.
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 Okay, so they'll go a little quicker now once we get some pace going here, but we want to be thorough, we want to be complete, and we want the board to make their independent decision. So if I start to go too quick, certainly slow down and we can review things, okay? But at that same method, as I'm reading the big question, look at those smaller questions and make sure that you are understanding of where we're going. So number 2 is the impact on geological features. The proposed action may result in the modification or destruction or inhibit access to any unique or unusual landforms on the site, e.g. cliffs, dunes, minerals, fossils, and caves. Our suggested answer here is no in your part 1, and there is references on here as well, which I did not show you, but at the end of that part number 2, it says see part 1, question E, point 2, point G. So if you refer back to that part 1, there is specific information that was garnered from database material with regards to, in this case, geological features. And in this case, our subject site does not have any of those unusual landforms. So my suggested answer, big question, is no.
It's some very nice asphalt.
Yes, it is.
And knowing that the property has been previously developed in a variety of different ways, and during the building of those buildings, no record of fossils or even artifacts from previous settlements were discovered during that. I think it is pretty safe to say, based on that review, it's not altering geographic or
and just so you know, Attorney Carey, you're absolutely correct, but part of that database review is the State Historical Association, and they have anything that is discovered, they put a pin on it, and then there's like a 2-mile radius of potential impact area. For this subject site, it is not considered an impact area.
excellent. So I would say it's not an impact area as well.
Okay.
Sorry?
Should be talking to people.
George? Can we do a vote?
Yes.
That's the wrong answer. Now, we're on question number 2 and trying to respond to it.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor of answering no on impact on geological features? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Item 3, impacts on surface water. The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies, e.g. streams, rivers, ponds, or lakes. There's no such surface water on the subject site. Our answer is no.
That's pretty clear.
I think that's pretty clear as well.
All in favor of answering no? Say aye.
Aye.
Number 4, impact on groundwater. The proposed action may result in a new or additional use of groundwater or may have the potential to introduce contaminants to groundwater or an aquifer. There's no new water supply on this site. Again, remember, all these questions deal with every project throughout the state. There's no wells. We are on municipal water source. Therefore, there's going to be no injection points into the groundwater. And as well, we are not, sorry, the pun. There is no new wells to be excavated or drilled. We are on public water here. So our answer to that question has been no.
Knowing that we are obviously in an aquifer, just want to confirm again that the project isn't going to be disturbing that aquifer at all.
Yeah, we're not here though, I don't think.
I don't think so.
We're within the realm of the aquifer, but remember, it's all impervious surface today. It isn't like we're going to be changing the dynamic. We're changing it from an impervious asphalt surface to an impervious roof surface for that change. And this is an existing building of which it's the same. So the impact as far as potential infiltration or other things, frankly, the current proposed design shows more impervious or more pervious areas in the future than there are today.
And just so I know, the definition pervious is allows water to
recharge into the ground.
recharge into the ground.
Impervious means it's
blocks.
running off.
Thank you.
All in favor of no for that one, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
5.
Impact on flooding. The proposed action may result in the development on land subject to flooding. In our review, we review the FEMA floodplain maps. Our subject site is outside any regulatory floodplain areas. Therefore, our answer was no.
All in favor of no for that one, say aye.
Aye. Number 6, impacts on air. The proposed action may include a state-regulated air emission source. The state regulates if you are an industrial entity and you have a smokestack and there's air emissions, it's regulated. In this case, there will be no regulated air emissions. Therefore, our answer was no.
Any questions on that? All in favor of no, say aye.
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 Number 7, impacts on plants and animals. The proposed action may result in the loss of flora or fauna. And again, there's a reference point here. So when we do this database, a good portion of Scotia and even within the village becomes a little, we call it a red flag comes up, or a yellow flag, that the area is subject to a check zone for threatened bald eagle. When we look at the subject site, there is no significant tree coverage. There is no existing habitat for the bald eagle. Therefore, and the site is in a pretty urban setting, that no potential impact would be for the bald eagle, which is the only listed threatened species within the radius. But again, it did pop up, and you can see the detail that we go through when we're reviewing the site.
I did see that in the report, and the only question that I have is, in the schematic design, I do know that oftentimes reflective surfaces may oftentimes be of an issue to birds flying into windows. Also, 24-hour light, LED lights illuminating building oftentimes can disturb and distract birds and fowl.
So with regards to lighting, the parking lot lighting will be what we call dark sky compliant fixtures, which means they are strictly downcast. So at whatever the pole heights will be, they will say it's a 25-foot pole, they will be downcast. And so from up above, you will not see the light shining up. So that becomes a dark sky compliant feature that most LED lights will have. There is parking lot lighting today. It is, street lighting along Mohawk. Therefore, the potential impact, again, in our mind would be minimal with regards to the building architectural pieces. I have not seen the final elevations, but I know that H2M is looking at a historic looking type of building to kind of match the Mohawk commercial district, which is not a glassed modern type of building. It will be brick and hard surfaces. There will be, some nice features as far as windows for day light to come in, but not excessive, and certainly not an oppressive thing for the birds situation.
With the dark sky compliance as well as the historical exterior, I see that this will have a minimum impact.
So why have you got a yes on that one, Matt?
Well, the big question of yes becomes because there's a potential. So as soon as you hit yes, then you go through and you look at all of the sub questions and the small questions. So if we start going through all the small questions, just because we say yes in the big question, all that does is it refers us to those small questions, and we can kind of go through those. But when you look at those, then you say, is it a no or small impact environmentally, or a moderate to large impact? And I think what Trustee Cook was saying is, the potential for our impact to the birds is with regards to lighting and reflective surfaces, which I would agree, but we've already talked about the mitigation of those reflective surfaces and that lighting. Therefore, again, and you can or I can go through each of these sub questions, but that's what that does, Mr. Mayor. That kind of kicks us into the smaller questions. So again, in our completion of the part 2, we're just saying, hey, that's something we got to look into more detail. Follow?
And just because it's in the Eagle check area, yes, is kind of a due diligence on that.
Yes, sir.
And I did see an immature bald eagle eating a rabbit in the middle of Sacandaga Road by the cemetery the other day, so it's pretty
Nice.
neat.
See a whole family up in that neighborhood. It's kind of cool.
So how do we vote on that one, Matt?
Well, again, it's your discretion. You can follow my lead and say yes, and then we can go through the sub questions and we can do each one of those in which we either, again, clarify no to small or moderate to large.
I think out of due diligence, I think we should vote yes and go through the small question.
Okay.
Okay, the first small question.
Make a yes.
7A, the proposed action may cause reduction in population or loss of individuals of any threatened or endangered species as listed by New York State or the federal government, and that the use of the site or are found on, over, or near the site. Is that a no to small impact or a moderate to large impact?
No to small.
No to small. They weren't here 15 years ago, and it's been more developed since then, and now they're here.
7B, the proposed action may result in a reduction or a degradation of any habitat used by any rare, threatened, or endangered species as listed by New York State or the federal government.
No.
No, there's no tree cover.
7C, the proposed action may cause reduction in population or loss of individuals of any species of special concern or conservation need as listed in New York State or the federal government that use the site or are found on, over, or near the site.
Clearly no.
7D, the proposed action may result in a reduction or degradation of any habitat used by any species of special concern and conservation need as listed by New York State and the federal government.
No.
Next one, the proposed action may diminish the capacity of a registered national natural landmark to support the biological community it was established to protect.
No.
F, the proposed action may result in the removal of or ground disturbance in any portion of a designated significant natural community.
No.
G, the proposed action may substantially interfere with nesting, breeding, foraging, or overwintering habitat for the predominant species that occupy or use the project site.
No.
H, the proposed action requires the conversion of more than 10 acres of forest, grassland, or any other regional or local important habitat.
Clearly not.
Nope.
I, the proposed action, commercial, industrial, or recreational projects only, well, we are commercial, involves use of herbicides or pesticides. And again, we're pretty impervious.
My only question is the chemical suppressants found in foam and things used by the fire department. Do we have any of those chemicals? No.
No, we don't spray them. It's not, yeah. Never have out there.
So all of those check boxes are no, and we will go back to those when we review part 3. Okay, so what we do is we go through these 19 and then we'll re-review the yeses of the 19 questions. Number 8, impact on agricultural resources. The proposed action may impact agricultural resources. The subject site is an urban setting. No agricultural resources exist. I said no.
The nearest agricultural site is Urbanski Farm.
All in favor of no, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Number 9, impact on aesthetic resources. The land use of the proposed action are obviously different from or in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project and a scenic or aesthetic resource. And one thing you have to be aware of, this has to be a defined aesthetic resource either by the federal, state, or the local government. So it's not just a random thing, it's a defined aesthetic resource.
What are those defined aesthetic resources?
It could be,
Waterfalls?
yeah, it could be any of that. It could be a waterfall, it could be the view shed of a lake, it could be the view shed of the mountains up in the Adirondacks. It's something that has to be designated as an aesthetic resource to the community.
Unfortunately, our parking lot is an aesthetic resource by any definition.
So,
Yeah,
Okay,
go ahead.
all in favor, no?
Aye.
Aye.
Impact on historic and archaeological resources. The proposed action may occur in or adjacent to a historic or archaeological resource. So again, when we do the database search, the subject site is located on or adjacent to an area designated as listed sensitive area. So there's parts of the village that are listed by SHPO. That's another acronym, State Historic Preservation Office, that we have to be aware of. And that we, again, by default, have answered yes to that big question, and that kicks us into the small questions.
All right, go for it.
A, the proposed action may occur wholly or partially within or substantially contiguous to any buildings, archaeological site, or district which is listed on the National or State Registry of Historic Places, or that has been determined by the Commissioner of New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation to be eligible for listing on the State Registry of Historic Places.
The answer is no to that, right?
Huh?
The answer is no, right?
I don't think so, yeah.
Because the only historic areas I know of is Abraham Glen and potentially the Flint House.
And
What's
the
the AG?
library and the.
Yeah, park
and
too.
Sanders.
What's the adjacent area that's causing us to say yes, by the way? Causing you to say yes.
I don't have
Oh.
that, trustee.
Okay.
It's, it was not this building and it wasn't directly adjacent. But again, when SHPO puts a pinpoint, it's a big radius.
A 2 mile radius.
It's a 2 mile radius deal that, so really from within here, you're within the
The
limit.
2 mile radius, but some other significant places.
Correct. And it's for consideration by the board to review is the proposed project going to impact that aesthetic resource?
Right.
B, the proposed action may occur wholly or partially within or substantially contiguous to an area designated as sensitive for archaeological sites on the New York State Historic Preservation Office.
No,
Nope.
C, the proposed action may occur wholly or partially within or substantially contiguous to an archaeological site not included in the New York SHPO inventory. So is there something that we know? Is there a dinosaur bone under here or something like that? That's what that question's about.
no.
No.
So E is if any of the above, A through D, are answered moderate to large impact, continue with the following questions. And we said small impact on all of those. And so these other questions were, will the action result in destruction? Will the action result in alteration? Or will the action result in the introduction of visual elements which are out of character? I think we all know that.
Yeah.
Number 11, impact on open space and recreation. The proposed action may result in a loss of recreational opportunities or reduction of an open space resource as designated in any adopted municipal open space plan.
I'm assuming a parking lot doesn't.
This is
Qualify.
the open space, not a commercial parking lot.
Yep.
If it was a village green or, something.
All in favor, no for that one, say aye.
Aye.
Number 12, impact on critical environmental areas. The proposed action may be located within or adjacent to a critical environmental area. That is again a designated area typically by DEC. So a CEA, critical environmental area, is an area, and if you had one, you would know about it.
All in favor, no for that one, say aye.
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 13, impact on transportation. The proposed action may result in a change to existing transportation systems. So what I want to indicate here is we are on Mohawk Street, which is a state highway system. The existing fire station discharges onto Mohawk Street in close proximity to the signalized intersection with North 10 Brock. The proposed location of the new apparatus apron is pushing further east of that signalized intersection. Frankly, in a positive fashion, the existing apron in that direct proximity to the signal is dangerous. And so this project is proposing an improvement to the transportation as well. Currently, fire apparatus have to back into the bay off of Mohawk Street. The proposed situation with a larger apron will allow the department and the drivers to pull into the apron and do a turning movement to back into the new station without backing off of Mohawk Street. Again, an improvement to the transportation system here in the village. The one potential impact that the board should consider is with the location of the fire station in the municipal parking lot, there is a reduction in parking spaces. I believe it's 15 or 16 reduction of parking spaces to what exists today. In our estimation, the benefit of the new fire station and the safety considerations of not only the station, but as well the proximity to the intersection far outweigh the loss of the parking spaces. But that's my estimation, but for the board to determine. So my answer was no on impact to transportation for those reasons, but the board certainly makes their own determination.
We're not relocating any bus stops, which would be a significant impact.
Not changing that.
We're not changing the roadway or the shape of the roadway. In terms of the 15 spots, you know, knowing that it was presented at the public forum that there could be the potentiality of increasing what's currently no parking on Mohawk Ave, to allow for more parking, which would further reduce the loss of parking spaces. So I would say that.
Okay, so all in favor or no for that
We
one,
can
say
move
aye.
bicycles.
Yeah,
Move bicycles.
and the EV chargers can be moved as well.
All in favor or no for that one, say aye.
Aye.
Number 14, impact on energy. The proposed action may cause an increase in the use of any form of energy. My answer was no, and the reason is only slight increases in energy consumption due to the new building, the new fire station, as well as the restoration of the existing municipal building will include new efficient heating and cooling systems, as well as meet today's energy code standards. So as a result, there might even be a reduction in energy consumption, but again, we're here on the commercial district. To me, I think we'll get a better system than the air units with single pane glass.
Okay, all in favor or no for 14, say aye.
Aye.
Number 15, impact on noise, odor, and light. The proposed action may result in an increase in noise, odors, or outdoor lighting. There will be a temporary noise impact during construction. Any construction will have associated noise with regards to that heavy equipment, but that's a temporary situation. But the construction will occur during daytime hours. Once the construction is complete, should be no impact. And we talked about the lighting and the dark sky compliant and the fact that there's site lighting in the parking lot today. So our answer to that was no, but again, board's decision.
And at the end of the day, it's still a fire facility in the vicinity.
Correct.
And we're not increasing the number of apparatus with this new station. And we're not adding a whistle, which we haven't used in decades.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No for that one? Okay.
Sorry.
Aye.
Number 16, impact on human health. The proposed action may have impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants. To our knowledge, there's no environmental or hazardous waste impacts associated with the subject site. So our answer was no for this.
Yeah, and if we have any contaminants in the fire trucks, they're there now and only get better with this.
Aye.
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 Number 17, consistency with community plans. The proposed action, again, it's kind of like a reverse wording because you always want to, you got to be careful. The proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans. Our answer is no. The proposed project is within the business district of the village and within and adjacent to the longstanding municipal building and thus consistent with community plans.
And
And it's property they bought for this purpose in
That's-
1991.
that was gonna be my next question. So the purchase was intended to be a municipal facility.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Number 18, consistency with community character. The proposed project, again, is inconsistent with the existing community character. The planned architectural features of the new station is intended to blend with the architectural elements and character of the village business district, and the restoration of the existing building will be similar in the character of the entire area. So again, it's a reverse negative here, so we want to say that there is no inconsistency with the community character, so the answer should be no.
I agree with that. We're following the design guidelines
And
too.
the design guidelines were submitted to the.
And I kept saying 19, and there's actually 18 questions, so I apologize.
Aye.
Aye.
So that gets you through part 2.
All right.
So then we look at part 3, and part 3 is now becomes the environmental determination. Attorney Scott, can I borrow that? So part 3 is now the determination of significance. So now really what the board should do is flip back through the items of big questions that were checkboxed yes. And as I recall, as we went through the sub questions or the small questions, every case ended up with a checkbox no to small impact. Therefore, an environmental determination of significance can be reached if so deemed by the board. And I had some suggested language, and certainly Attorney Marola can adjust my language, and I think there's a potential resolution that has been drafted in similar fashion. But my wording is something to the effect of, based on thorough and complete review of the seeker full environmental assessment form, the long form, part 1, and reviewing and answering all of the part 2, identification of potential project impacts, the Village Scotia Board of Trustees has determined that the proposed project, being the new 14,000 square foot fire station and renovation of the existing village municipal building, will not pose any adverse environmental impact. So those are my words as suggestions, but certainly the board can introduce any language they so deem necessary.
You are welcome to put words into our mouth. That's fine.
Did we? This came through in an email.
Yep.
And on page 2 of the form, it has a checkbox of A, B, or C. And checkbox A says this project will result in no significant adverse impacts on the environment, and therefore an environmental impact statement need not be prepared. Accordingly, this negative declaration is issued. B and C kind of further into an environmental review process, so I won't read those unless the board seems that necessary. But I checkboxed A on the second page of the part 3.
Okay, so can we have a motion to have the mayor sign the negative declaration?
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to
Sign a negative declaration.
Well, yeah.
What?
A motion. What's the one we have here? Motion.
I was looking for it on the agenda. There was.
The negative non-significance.
That resolution provides for that.
And we have a proposed resolution finding that it going through all the things we just went through here. The board, as Matt said, has gone through each of the potential environmental impacts and has found that there are no such potential negative impacts or significant negative impacts. Bonds, the determination of negative declaration for determination of bonds.
Okay, so give that to Justin to read.
Well, it's, the whole thing is a few pages long.
All right, so in essence, make a motion to declare a negative declaration for a non
Unlisted.
Unlisted,
for an unlisted and an uncoordinated review with no,
negative declaration to environmental impact.
or with an insignificant environmental impact was the word you used, correct?
Non-significance.
Nonsense. I will try it, unless you want to try it,
I
George.
think you did it already.
I'd like to make a motion to declare for a negative, to make a motion for a negative declaration on the seeker, which is an uncoordinated review,
Approve the mayor to sign the negative declaration.
and to approve the mayor to sign the negative declaration for the seeker on an uncoordinated review with an unlisted action. All the legal jargon. With an insignificant impact, environmental impact,
Non-significant.
non-significant environmental impact.
I second.
There we go.
Is that good, man? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Clerk, call the roll.
Let's take 12 pages, take 12 pages and put it into one sentence.
Maria, could you call the roll for that one?
Trustee Solichak.
Yes.
Trustee Rizzo.
Yes.
Trustee Coe.
Yes.
Trustee Gray.
yes,
Mayor Gifford.
Yes.
I
Thank you, Matt.
I think we remember seeing that language typed out somewhere. but I couldn't.
Yeah.
Should pack a lunch, Matt.
Yeah. Okay. Item number 7, a resolution to adopt a bond resolution for the fire station facility.
I'll make the resolution for,
Is there more to it?
No, well, again, there's a lot of language that goes into the entire resolution. But it is a resolution essentially for a bond resolution for the fire hall facility to authorize issuance of serial bonds not to exceed $8.8 million for the village of Scotia. And that further the board directs that the village clerk put the matter to referendum.
Which if we had done that for your secret resolution.
Oh, that would have saved my,
Okay, thank you.
my terrible paraphrasing.
So give it to Justin to read.
Would you like to read this?
All right, I'd like to make a motion,
Wait, we're doing fire first. That's the village hall.
I'd like to make a motion for a resolution authorizing the construction of a new fire safety facility in the village of Scotia, New York, authorizing the issuance of serial bonds in the aggregate principal amount not to exceed $8,800,000 of the village of Scotia, Schenectady County, New York, pursuant to local finance law to finance said purpose, delegating the power to issue bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the sale of such bonds to the village treasurer, and determining to hold a voter referendum with respect to this bond resolution.
that's basically what this is. We're passing a resolution to go to referendum for financing.
Yes.
Correct.
Do you have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Solichak.
Yes.
Trustee Rizzo.
Yes.
Trustee Coe.
Yes.
Trustee Gray.
yes,
All right. Same thing for the village hall reconstruction.
I'll make a motion for a resolution authorizing the reconstruction and renovation of the current village hall / fire station, authorizing the issuance of serial bonds in an aggregate and principal amount not to exceed $5 million of the Village of Scotia, Schenectady, New York, pursuant to local finance law to finance said purpose, delegating the power to issue bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the sale of such bonds to the village treasurer, and determining to hold a voter referendum with respect to this bond resolution.
I'll second that motion.
Call the roll.
Yes.
Stevenson,
Yes.
Yes.
Gray,
yes,
Important to note, these both are going together. It's one big project.
Well, that's
That's the next part of it.
That's next. Yeah. Okay, number 9. On proposition language. we got that?
Yes, so based on the resolutions we just passed, we have to adopt proposition language that will appear on the ballot. So the motion to adopt the following is the proposition language. Shall the bond resolutions adopted by the Village of Scotia, New York on May 11th, 2020, authorizing the undertaking by the village of the project described as follows. A, renovation of the current Village Hall Fire Station located at 4 North Tenbrook Street, in the Village of Scotia, into a fire hall facility, Village Hall facility, which shall include the clerk's office, police department, building inspector's office, court, village court, mayor and board of trustees office, and meeting and conference space. And B, the construction on a parcel of land located at 138 Mohawk Avenue, in the Village of Scotia, of a new fire safety facility, including necessary site work and the acquisition of and installation of furnishings, fixtures, equipment, machinery, and apparatus for the foregoing purposes. And 2, the financing of the project by the issuance of serial bonds and the bond anticipation notes in anticipation of such bonds. An aggregate principal amount not to exceed $13.8 million.
Okay, so anybody, what she said?
I make a motion to do what Lydia just said.
I'll second that motion.
Quick call the roll.
Cecil,
Yes.
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 yes,
Yes. Okay, item 10. Resolution to do one election.
So we are allowed to declare the village one election district for the purpose of the referendum by resolution. So motion to declare the Village of Scotia one election district solely for the purpose of the referendum for the Village Hall Firehouse project, Fire Hall project as permitted by law at said districts. Polling site will be at Our Redeemer Lutheran Church, 103 South Reynolds Street, Scotia, New York, on June 7th, 2022, from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Quick call the roll.
Yes.
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 Gray,
Yes.
And just for clarification, that's an actual official polling station.
Tis.
Correct.
It is designated by the county. One of our usual-
Item 11. All right, we're on to new stuff. Can we have a resolution to approve the Scotia Business Improvement District fund year 22-23 budget, the amount of $23,275.77.
I'd like to make a motion for a resolution to approve the Scotia Business Improvement District FY 22-23 budget in the amount of $23,275.77.
I'll second that. I'll also make a motion to let our team leave if they want to.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Have fun.
Are you back tomorrow, Matt?
No,
No, okay.
Mr. Warren will be.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much for your info.
Okay. All in favor of the bid budget, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 12. it's just, authorize the allocation and collection of special assessment from the Scotia Business Improvement District on the June 2022 tax bills.
I move the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Item 13. Can we authorize the relevy of unpaid inside village February 2022 water and sewer bills on the June 2022 village tax bills?
I move the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Item 14, can we authorize the relevy of unpaid Department of Public Works charges on the June 2022 village tax bills?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 15, we have put out a chart of, as George requested last month, of potential ARPA funds payments or uses. We have a resolution to approve that list.
I think we should,
Table this until we get some information from DPW on the village clerk's office.
We've got a lot resting on that.
Are you approving the list or the list that's in the resolution? You know what I mean? That's
So
not-
it's not it's actually in the resolution of items we discussed at the last meeting. What I'm concerned about is we have a finite pot of money. And I am not convinced that even our matching parts of our grants even though the Washington Shawnee Trail are fully covered through other grants or in-kind labor. I also have concern that once again, the risk assessment work that needs to be done on the water pump station that's been deferred maintenance for 10 plus years preceding this administration and this board is now coming due. And again, water infrastructure is an element that can be used for ARPA funds. And I'm wary of also just lumping all the ARPA funds into one resolution. I would like to break out
That's what was requested at the last meeting in so many words. George said we want a resolution for that. We had a list. We're ready to work on it. This has gone too long.
I don't disagree, but the problem is, again, there is no input. You cannot tell me that DPW and the village clerk's office do not have needs that could be serviced by ARPA. I also have a very serious issue with using more ARPA funds to put in this building until after we see what the outcome of the referendum is going to be, because whatever improvements we do in this building are going to be undone.
What improvements are you talking about?
the generator.
The generator, as well as the electrical work for the climber. It's $1,000 that I'm sure we can find somewhere in the budget to get this place compliant. But again, I never once advocated for one resolution for everything. I am frustrated with talking about this, but also I am frustrated on the process by how this happened. To not have input or to have even ideas or thoughts from all the departments, which we know all have needs, is concerning.
We have been talking about this for 6 months, and we've got things there that are extremely important and timely.
Which are all going to also uproot our replacement plan. Things like pagers, turnout gear, tasers, those items on there. I thought we had in place a replacement program where we replace 2 or 3 at a time. So if we go ahead and replace all the 6 turnout gear for the sum of $20,000 that isn't actually fitted to a volunteer, then we're gonna 10 years when the state says that is your mandatory exhaustion, we're now gonna have to go out and buy 6 more turnout gear units all at once. rather than being in our replacement plan. So if we want to get on a replacement plan with ARPA funds, and you know, that's fine, but I do think more than anything, we do, you know, we also need to move on the $50,000 for small business grants. Each of those items have their own merit. And I think because they have their own merit and discussion, we should be able to consider those independently. We are also one of the only municipalities, the urban municipalities. I can't speak for how the town of Glenville decided to make their determinations for ARPA funds, but the city of Schenectady, city of Albany, city of Troy all had public hearings where the board was able to present the ideas they were using for ARPA and to solicit feedback from the public. I'm not convinced that this is the best way to spend the money at this time. I would love to hear from the department heads to prove me wrong.
This is really a travesty, guys. This is, we have things here that are essential to our operations, that the department heads have, we asked them to give us what they needed. They've done that. And this is months ago. This is not like, so Danny, how, you know, you just take these out of nothing? You don't need them? This is the whole thing. For instance, we talked, the fire chief came here last month to talk about the pagers. So these are things that, they're not an annual thing. You don't have to replace them. They weren't included in the radio purchase. I have not had a pager that works for the last 6 months. I would like a pager that works. I don't want to go out. Ken went out and bought his own, okay? I would like a pager that tells me what's happening. This one does not. It just tells you where the call is and you're done. You're going to something you don't know. So, and the volunteer gear, we had a meeting, now it's now 2 months ago with the volunteers. They're saying we don't have enough volunteers because we don't have enough gear. So Dave comes up with this good solution of generic gear, which if a volunteer comes in and doesn't need it, you can use it for somebody else. If you get fitted gear for somebody and he lasts a month, then you've got this piece of gear you can't use.
So again,
this is an absolutely fabulous idea that we needed months ago.
So
you're saying, oh, let's put it off again.
I'm not saying, oh, put it off again. So you mean to tell me you were unaware of the upgrades, the risk assessment upgrades at the water pump station that needed to be done? You were completely unaware of that, and that wasn't taken into consideration for ARPA.
I thought we talked about.
We did at the beginning of the ARPA phase, and it's not in this. And I also raised concern. Maria put together a really great spreadsheet of all the grants that we have that currently do not have matches. And I will say the outdoor recreation was one of the essential elements initially put out in the guidance for ARPA. I was then told that county grants are now covering for that full match. It's now been 4 months and we've not had any movement or understanding or knowledge of how that county money is going to come in to satisfy that match. The project for the bike project from the Sunnyside to Shawnee Connector Trail needs to be complete. And that falls well within the purpose of that. We've also discussed many times about NYSERDA opportunities to expand EV chargers. Again, green infrastructure is another element used in ARPA. We've not had a coordinated discussion. And I know for a fact, after conversations I've had with Dan, that the tasers, the body cams, and the license plate reader, which will help also keep our police officers safe from knowing what they're going at a routine traffic stop, because we have over 400 vehicle traffic arrests each month. That's not in there, but the pagers are in there. So every department has needs, probably more needs than we can provide through ARPA, because you only have $800,000 plus over the next 2 years. The board needs to have a coordinated discussion about what's priority, what's urgent, and we need to make sure that DPW and the clerks.
We have had that discussion for how many work sessions? Like
Why?
10?
And none of those items were in the list on this resolution. I'm sorry to come at this, but this isn't something new. I've brought this up every meeting about my concerns about the equitable distribution of ARPA funds to the departments to meet their needs. And I see a list that is not addressing some of the critical things we discussed.
George demanded the list last month.
George,
We haven't done that any other time with any of the other expenditures.
For the record,
But
tossing a resolution out for approval that doesn't have definition to it is what I asked for, is to ask for definition to it. And this is admittedly a bunch of things put together into one resolution. And there's merit in the generator. You know, we didn't approve the generator to be paid for. And again, that's putting money into this building when we don't need to.
this is,
And again, there's half the departments who have responded to this. Regardless of the timing, there's half the departments who responded to it. Not to mention, you know, the community small business grants has been a priority since the beginning. That should be its own separate, live by itself. You know, I would make a motion for that right now, but again, we don't have definition to that project.
At the table, follow through with it, though.
we do have guidance given from Lydia on things that need to be added to the initial proposal that I put together. And, you know, there is some work that needs to be done on that, but that work hasn't been done. I'd be happy to do it. But, you know, I'm also mindful of, is that my role as a trustee to actually do that work? Or is that the role of the mayor's office or the departments to put that together?
My concern, and I agree with you on the concern about the grants. We have, down in our office, there must be 12 different grants and folders that have matching funds. And when those grants come to, where we're gonna find funding for that. So I would recommend to make sure we have the funding for those grants before they come due. So we're not scrambling, looking for the money to appropriate that.
You know, because if we pass this resolution tonight and it turns out that the county grants are not going to cover those matches 100%, we miss out on opportunity to use ARPA funds to cover that match, which that recreation pathway will have a lasting impact on the village for decades to come.
And we have our water pumping, electrical problems over there that need to be resolved. Some of the pumps need to be resolved, which I think are being worked on. You know, those should be a priority thing, especially that. I don't want to see a grant go through here and all of a sudden we grab a grant and all of a sudden we're going to be scrambling looking for the money. Like you said, we should have the matching funds in the grant already or set aside an account. So when that grant comes to, we have the funding to fund it.
So my recommendation, and this is just my recommendation, is that at the next work session, each of the department heads come to us just like they do during the budget hearings. Present the needs of what they want and what they need to use from ARPA, prioritizing those elements by what is essential, or what's critical, what's essential, and what's needed. But perhaps there might be a way for us to find money within the existing budget to pay for some of those items. Perhaps the resolution to the pager is to get on a routine and regular replacement of those pagers.
Not that, and also some of that stuff may be already in the budget.
So I will rest my
went through
case.
this last month with the page.
So Dave went through it, Dan went through it, Maria was on vacation, Ryan was on vacation while this was going on. That's the reality. The timing,
But
we didn't give this enough time to allow for our employees who work hard to be able to go on vacation and not have to worry about replying to an email with needed items.
I did not, just to make it clear, I did not get asked. I was not requested, so I did not reply. I was not asked if I had, which I'm not, I just want to make it clear
Yeah.
that I didn't just not respond.
So
There's a case involved. The water pump, I'm more worried about our infrastructure with the water pump. station. We have a lot of work to do with that, and these funds are definitely, right in line to do that.
And I'm
I
concerned,
prefer that to be, on priority one, to get that all straightened out, and we don't have to deal with it.
and again, I have those same concerns, but I know our concerns as a village are going to be far more than what the pot of ARPA can have, because again, we didn't get millions of dollar windfall like other municipalities did. And as we already found out early on in the process, you know, the Shawneewee fire hydrant system wanted to be it, but that was well over all of our ARPA funds. So what we have to do is evaluate what is needed, figure out what is critical and essential, and this, quite frankly, needs to be something done with board input.
And you also spoke about,
But I rest my case.
village businesses on Mohawk Avenue that need help in improving their businesses or helping to renovate their businesses. We talked about doing something with that, and I don't think anything has come above that. So I would like to see us work on that too.
That's in here.
That's in here, but it doesn't have any definition.
Yeah, you're back to what George says. You have the definition of what it is or any paperwork on it. I have a number of businesses out there right now that could use help.
Okay, so we've got several things on this list that are time sensitive. That the generator grant thing is due on the 1st of June. If we don't do that tonight, we can kiss it goodbye. The same thing is true with the Article 15 project. That is already over time. And I know we can spend the extra couple of millions on that bridge if we feel so inclined. But at some point, we got to put these forward, and those things are critical now. I think also that we had a meeting with the volunteers a month ago now, where they're clamoring to gear for new volunteers. We don't have that. We have to order. It takes a while to get here. There are some of these things I don't mind putting off, but there's some that are critical right away.
And again, the water pump station risk assessment is critical. Been deferred for over 10 years now. And that's not in here. Body cameras, now in today's day and age, thankfully they're in there because nowadays it's recommendations coming from police reform and accountability committees. Our tasers are out of support and quite frankly can't be serviced.
Correct.
But when we look at those things, I wonder if there's ways within ARPA to use these to get started on replacement programs so that it's sustainable going forward. The police department also invested time and energy in getting a trained commercial traffic safety officer who's out there making sure that the trucks and the commercial vehicles that are coming through our 3 state highways in this village are safe to be on the road. And that officer can't do that without a license plate reader.
Correct.
So, and that's not in here. So again, every department has high needs. And one of the things I learned in the nonprofit world, when you have high needs, everything feels like a priority, but we don't have the amount of money to make sure that every priority is fulfilled. So we have to make hard decisions and it needs to be equitable. And so I can't say anymore because I feel like we are just talking in circles. I agree with you, Tom. This is frustrating for me, but it's frustrating not to be able to have a resolution that we can all vote on and adopt on. So I'd be willing to help any way I can. I just need to be part of the process. And I wish the board was part of these discussions so we know how critical and urgent these things are.
Well, I mean, this list has been out since the last meeting.
It's been a list. It hasn't been a detailed description.
It came with a detailed description from the department heads.
We haven't seen those
pages of exhibits.
Why haven't we seen those pages and pages of exhibits?
You have seen them. Dan prepared the ones for the tasers and they came with the initial.
I've seen Dan because I'm the police liaison. I haven't seen the stuff from the fire department on the critical need, I have, and again, we haven't been able to see anything from DPW or the village clerk. So I think we should table this and have this be the focus of the next work session. And, perhaps we can get a resolution together with at least some of these items where we know has consensus and move forward.
I am noting in here, and I understand the time-sensitive need for the ability to have some information to move forward with the infrastructure project. It does have the potential to save us money in the long run. So the total that I see here for the Article 15 effort is $19,320. So I would offer that due to the time sensitive nature, I make a motion to approve the mayor to spend not to exceed $20,000 in spending for the underpass Article 15 effort. And I do guarantee it is for infrastructure and it is of a time sensitive nature and it will save us money if it is successful. I make a motion for that to be approved.
I second that.
Clerk call the roll.
Trustee Solichak?
Yes.
Trustee Rizzo?
Yes,
Trustee Coe?
Yes.
Trustee Gray?
Yes.
Mayor Gifford?
Yes.
Everything else, I think we can, the generator thing, I don't mind letting go.
Okay.
Because again, we're putting money into this building, we are making a very concerted effort
Well,
to,
I mean, this is also for the DPW garage and for the water.
so then again.
Ryan, is that generator part of the risk assessment? And is that the only part of the risk assessment that needed to be done, or is there other additional work?
No, we're still here about transport. Yeah. Bigger project. Thanks,
and that's one of the projects that needed to be done that's been pushed back so many years. And now we have a chance to get this all set up and fixed.
No,
right.
you're talking about the generator or the water?
The water pump.
So he just mentioned in that water pump that it's gonna be more expensive than that's not ready to be presented
Right.
yet. So, but the generator is part of that project.
Correct.
Let's add that license plate reader. I think we all agree to that on this list.
But we don't have any.
I think the rest of these items, with maybe the exception of the community grants, needs further information presented to us, to the board.
Even with the community grants, we owe it to the businesses to know what that's going to be and have it backed up by the resolution.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I suggest we table the rest of the art.
So-
You can't just get money and use it for whatever you want.
Would anybody like to move the generator grant application, or should we skip that?
Is it $3,600 and you get a generator?
$3,600 for DPW, Village Hall, and
Yeah,
water
no,
pump.
it's not for a generator at all. It's for the I forget. Do you remember which engineer it is? It's an engineer to make the application for the federal grant.
Funds for new generators, critical. Wellfield through FEMA hazard mitigation,
What's the match on that?
5%.
But I mean, it's just to apply for the grant. It's not to manage the grant. It's not guaranteed.
Through DR 4480 event, it was due June 1st, 2022.
that is something that could potentially be planned through the economic development line, because we can't have economic development without backup power to our water system should a catastrophic incident occur.
Correct.
So, you know, again, some of these could be budgetary items that we explore through the budget. You know, or I hate to say it, we've been talking about a grant writer for months too, and we're no closer to that either.
Back to my question. Anybody want to move a generator grant or let it go? All right. Item 16, we have a resolution to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement modification number 3, KB Group.
This is related to the wastewater pump station improvements.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement modification number 3 with KB Group of New York not to exceed $22,100.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Tom, could you give us an update on how that is progressing down there?
It doesn't look any different at all, but Brian says it's close. Oh my goodness, 2 hours?
Yeah, 2 hours. I think, permit the grading out is gonna get approved. Jackson just needs to say a couple things, equipment is gonna be used down there.
Tension wires, yeah.
Works maybe it goes through there. So we made progress today.
Now, is that for the tank removal in the building itself?
Yeah. And finish the fence.
Do we vote on that? All in favor?
Yes.
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 Item 17. Authorize the payment number 3 to MJ Engineering, the amount of $57,366.24 for the Washington Avenue.
Payment number 3 is like a schedule, right? It's been planned for.
That's a schedule?
I'll make a motion to authorize payment number 3 to MJ Engineering and Land Surveying, EC, in the amount of $57,366.24 for Washington Avenue bicycle and pedestrian connection project.
And I would love to second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 18, the resolution to sign the agreement with the town of Glenville relating to climate change mitigation easement. This is for the Broad Street sidewalk.
I apologize. Can I be excused to get water? I'm having a little bit of an asthma attack.
Glass on the back of my desk there.
That was the first time we saw that today, so it's just process for the sidewalk, or?
Sorry.
Yeah, with the grant that they got for doing that has funny language from DEC where they're required to get an easement to do the study to show them that it's done, and that we have to give them an easement to walk on our sidewalks, basically.
Okay.
What kind of money we're talking about?
And the good supervisor wanted us to say we were going to maintain it and everything, and it had the maintenance for the.
So this isn't anything.
It does not have anything to do with that.
And this is just an agreement. There's no funds changing. Yeah.
It's an easement, but it's, for me, it's letting people walk on our sidewalk, which we tend to do anyway.
Is there any funds involved?
Is there any funds assigned to it?
No? Okay.
Resolution signed. I make a motion to the resolution to sign the agreement with Town of Glenville relating to climate change mitigation easement granted pursuant to Article 43, Title 15 of the New York State Environmental Conservation Law relating to Broad Street.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll make a motion to a resolution to authorize closing of Irving Road from Boston Avenue to Knickerbocker Road on July 16th from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. for a block party.
I'll second that motion.
I'll also make a resolution to authorize.
Wait, all in favor?
Aye. Right, right.
Aye. Heather?
You got to roll.
Well, I want to hear Heather comment. Heather, you there?
I guess so. Her light went on,
She's
but
not there.
I didn't hear anything.
She's not on the call. I will make a resolution to
Washing that.
authorize closure of water.
Hello?
For the closure of South Tenbrook from Mohawk Avenue to the First National Bank driveway on Saturday, June 18th for the Mohawk Tap Room Block Party. Congratulations on 8 years of exceptional business in the village.
And I will second that resolution.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 22, we have a resolution to designate 2 days as village events for insurance purposes.
I'll make a motion to designate the following events as village events for insurance purposes. Event A, Memorial Day Parade, May 25th, 2022, and B, Cruising on the Avenue, June 19th, 2020.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 You second, Joe? You
Yeah,
seconded,
I'll second
right? Yeah, I heard. Mayor's comments to the board. Item 23. This is a happy spring, everybody. It's we had a bid meeting yesterday, looking out at the park, and it was absolutely gorgeous. It was in the new room at the library, and there were trees blooming and people running around on carts cleaning up stuff, and it was just beautiful. And also, if you get a chance to look at Freedom Park, they've done Parks and DPW have done a beautiful job with renovating that stage and side wings and ramp in the back and everything. It's better than it ever was, right?
Oh, yeah. It's great. Jerry Archibald did a real good job cutting and doing the siding on that.
Well, not to
And
mention
his
Frank.
crew and the DPW crew.
We had we forgot about that. The chairlift is in place. We did have Clune come in and put the outlet in for it. We have not figured out where to pay from that because that's in the ARPA funds money. So we ought to talk about that under new business, I guess, where we're going to pay for that from. And also the other item that's related to that and that I had in the ARPA funds is the concrete ramp outside so that there's not a step at the outside door to make it inaccessible already. So we had a quote for that, but
You
right now
have
it's
to
not
do any
gonna happen.
improvements to that doorway door to make it accessible to get in.
We have not talked about that at all, at least not since. And we got Dan talked about a secure door at one point, and that's even more difficult with that chair thing there. But the one thing that started me into that was that when I don't know whether it was just a coincidence or it was related, but at the same time the electrician put the hole through the wall, we had a smell in the police station and the clerk's office that sent people running for home. We still don't know what the answer is. Ryan's guys spent hours looking for it and sealing up holes just in case, and that seemed to have worked, but something's dead down there. It's advantages. There's some advantages to not having a nose. Mine hasn't worked in 10 years. Anyway, that's good enough. Departmental reports. Somebody move those.
I'd like to move to accept the departmental reports as submitted.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, I skipped the
Correspondence.
correspondence. So Justin, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so it was a good month with the Scotia Police Department. Pull up my report here. Work planning Village of Scotia events has been ongoing. Sergeant Brady will be the detail supervisor for the Memorial Day Parade. Sergeant Bean will be overseeing cruising the avenue, and Sergeant Koch will be the supervisor assigned to coordinating the fireworks held on July 1st. And then Sergeant Halfinger and Bean will also be assisting with that incredible community event, which I am thrilled is coming back. It's going to be a great time, and special thanks to Jumping Jacks for sponsoring that event and putting it on. They do a lot. They're actually solely responsible for that event, and I think we as a community need to show our appreciation to Jumping Jacks for putting that on. There was meetings were had with Sergeant Bean and a grant coordinator for our New York State Child Safety Grant. The chief was pleased to announce that the grant coordinator was extremely complimentary of Sergeant Bean and Officer Spalding for their efforts during the pandemic for our child safety seat. The safety checks gave many residents and non-residents assurance that their car seats were properly installed. I have to say, when I brought Chloe home from the hospital, Sergeant Halfinger was there making sure I did it right, because I didn't realize you needed a college degree to put in a baby seat. So that is a service I know our officers are excited to provide. There was also work for continuing on planning for ARPA funds. Obviously, we did have a good discussion about that. The three items of particular interest for the police department are tasers due to outdated software that is no longer being supported by the manufacturer, a license plate reader for a vehicle to help and assist with commercial traffic vehicle safety, also safety with traffic violations that could lead to potential arrests. And then actually, I mentioned this at the last meeting, our officers are open and eager to the idea for body-worn cameras as a recommendation that has come out of our discussions with police reform and accountability. We had another successful drug take-back day, thanks to the assistance of Mrs. Becker, an administrative assistance from Ms. Becker with that. I want to stress the importance of these drug take-back days. Anyone who knows through the opioid pandemic that oftentimes prescription drugs laying around the house are oftentimes a leading cause of opioid use disorder. So these drug take-back days serve a critical role in making sure those unused opioids and addictive drugs get safely disposed of. And then we also awarded the bid for the outfitting of the new vehicle that we purchased as part of our vehicle replacement plan. And one of the things I'm particularly proud of, this has been something that I've really championed, and I commend Chief Harrigan on his work, but also the PBA for seeing the value in this position. So the new CRO position was put out to bid to the department officers. The chief is happy to announce that a successful candidate has been selected, and we look forward to making a formal announcement in future meetings. I've also been working very closely with a young man now in 6th grade. This started when he was in 5th grade at Lincoln Elementary School to revise the skateboard law. Chief Harrigan, who now heads up the Traffic Safety Committee, has been a key proponent of that. So I look forward at the next work session to introduce, the local law for consideration of the board, and hoping to be able to get a, hoping to get a public hearing so that we can discuss this. This would lift the existing ban on skateboarding and inline skating in the Village of Scotia on all streets and sidewalks, and replace it with safe skate guidelines that will allow for an Olympic sport to be practiced and enjoyed by our youth, but also allow students like Ollie, who rides a skateboard to work, to school, I should say, every day, an opportunity to do so without breaking the law. And one of the things I admired about the response from the police department on this, not only from Dan Harrigan, but from some of the officers, is they want to be able to engage with teaching young people how to safe skate, like wear a helmet, don't ride in the middle of the street, don't ride down Mohawk Ave. So some of the Traffic Safety Committee recommendations all will be adopted. They focus on areas where you can skate and areas where you can't skate. Obviously, Mohawk Ave, excuse me, our business corridor, Sacandaga and Route 50 are going to be no skate areas. But based on vehicle traffic and speed analysis, Cuthbert Street will be added to that list as well. That is just not a safe place for even bike riders. So that is my police report. The bid met, had an annual meeting this past week. I want to congratulate Jason and Karen on their appointment to the Scotia Business Improvement District. Karen was actually the nominee through the Board of Trustees. She is the Director of Pastoral Life at Converge Church. And Converge Church has really taken a vested interest at making sure that they're getting good neighbors here on Mohawk Ave with a good vision for the future, and want to be an active part of that community. So Zoning Board of Appeals did also meet. Pretty quick meeting, and they issued the variance for the case at hand.
All right, Heather?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
With report from the town of Glenville, I did have a meeting with Supervisor Ketzley last Friday. We did discuss a possible youth program for this summer. Hopefully we can get that. I did discuss with him the Schoharie River organization possibility, and more to come on that, but they are interested and they're engaged, and they have set aside funds in their budget for a possible youth program this year or next year. Thursdays in the park, there will be 5 bands total each Thursday. The last Thursday, August 27th, there will be movie night. With regards to the traffic safety and the police reform committee meetings, no new dates as of yet. I will follow up with Chief Harrigan as to when the dates are for both of those committee meetings and report back to you after we have those. With regards to the fire department, I did speak with Chief Wood. We did have a brief meeting with regards to the events coming up. Want to remind everybody about the chicken barbecue, annual barbecue that the fire department does put on. That will be on May 25th from 4 to 6 p.m. We hope everyone comes out. Again, the parade starts at 6, so that will be a nice venture for the village residents and outside community. Our rescue boat should be in service in the next week or so for the season. Once the docks are put in place, the rescue boat is in good shape, and that will be in the water for the season. We're about 567 calls as of April 30th, which is a constant in terms of our total calls for the year. For the month of April, we did 141 calls, of which 93 were EMS calls. And I think that's about it. I just want to say I walk the park almost every day. The park looks absolutely beautiful. And I want to thank all the employees, all the village employees for all their hard work. And it's springtime and looks like things are happening. So everybody get out, enjoy the weather, and hopefully good things to come post-COVID. Thank you.
Heather. Brian, do we have a date for the docks yet?
I'm just gonna ask that.
Yeah. Okay, Joe?
Yeah, with that report about the docks, as soon as the docks get, I'll get the information, the schedule from Freedom Park and some information on the docks to bring it down to the Waterford Harbor like I usually do and drop it off at the visitor center there. We do have a grand marshal and an honorary marshal for the Memorial Day Parade. We are still putting together groups. We have a number of groups that came in and we're getting more as time goes on. We're also looking for the village-wide garage sale, which there's going to be a lot of people signed up for that. I've seen a number of people on that. So I hope that is very successful. Like this is going to be we didn't do one last year, so this year it should be fairly good. I see a lot of people signed up for it and a lot of people excited about that. So that's going to transpire. Cruise on the Avenue, we had a meeting. We are sending flyers out to all our commercial people on Mohawk Avenue, and they are responding. We are working on a new way to bring the cars into Mohawk Avenue. We're looking at that, and then that's moving forward. The clerk's office, like I mentioned before, we would like to get a new filing cabinet down there if we could, for the girls to have more room for their files, and also this particular item could be used in a new facility when they get it ready. And let's see what else. That's about all I have to report.
Thank you. How many people we got, Lynn, for the garage sale?
30, 35.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was 40. We might have 40.
Yeah, and I get at least 2 a day.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good. Woodlawn's got theirs this weekend, so.
Yeah. Got no problems. Everybody likes to get.
We'll get swamped. It's good.
George?
Planning board meets pretty much monthly. We always have some spirited discussion. It's great to have those guys give their time to try and have some coordinated efforts with the village. We see Little League that's playing in the park again. They had new grass that's been put on one of the fields. The Village Garden has started up this past weekend as it has. I was looking back. It's been 2013 was the first year that was put into place, and every year it's gotten bigger. And it's great to have that kind of to look forward to in the spring. And I'm looking forward to the block parties and the village garage sale and the Memorial Day parade coming back. And it's going to be a good summer. So thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion for the budget adjustments for the month of April.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the budget adjustments for the month of April.
I'll second that motion.
Call the roll.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
27, can we have a motion to pay the bills?
I'll make a motion that we pay our monthly bills for the Village of Scotia.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody have any new business?
Again, I like to bring up that filing cabinet. I'd like to try to get for the clerk's office. It's something I think is well needed and we can move it around if we need to. I'll be getting some information on that from Newey, so I'll hand it out to.
Can we talk about that on Monday?
Yep, we'll get it to our work session.
Anybody else? If any of the 4 candidates in the room would like a 5-minute tour of that Article 15 proceeding, I'll do that now. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
So be it.
Good night, everyone.
And everyone, thank you very much for attending.
Thank you.